If there's any questions on your homework before you correct, you can look at those, and then the sub will pause this video and put those underneath the document camera so that you can see your solutions to the yellow worksheet G2. Today's class, lesson G3, what we are going to be looking at is reflections and congruence. So I can verify congruence to reflection, and I can describe the effect of the transformation in coordinate plane. A reflection is a transformation that has a mirror image, just like we talked about, and it'll have a line of reflection. It can be any line. In 8th grade, we're mostly going to be reflecting over the x and y axis. Think back to what you did last week with, after you finished the quiz. You also did, besides x and y axis, you did it like with y equals a number and x equals, you also did it with y equals x. If we are drawing our lines of reflection, we might have 3 of them for this symbol if we think about these different symbols. These are different car symbols. We'd have a vertical one, and here again we'd have it being vertical. So the key concept, and at the end of this class period, after you've watched the video, and if you need to pause it, just ask the sub to pause the notes. The key thing is at the end, you are going to be taking a quiz, and you are going to be asked to reflect, just like you did in yesterday's homework, a point like P, which is located at 2, -3, over the x-axis. And when it reflects it over the x-axis, you will notice that the y is going to change to the opposite coordinate. The x one stays the same. So today on your quiz, your answer is going to kind of look like this when you reflect over the x-axis. When you reflect over the y-axis, that point 2, -3 becomes the opposite going over the y changes, the x-coordinate changes to the opposite, and the y stays the same. And then what we did was we wrote it algebraically. So in algebra, we say when we go over the x-axis, the y-coordinate changes to the opposite. When we reflect over the y-axis, the x-coordinate becomes the opposite, and this is how we write those two things. And again, if you need to look at that picture a little more in your notes to see that the points C prime and C, what's opposite about them, you have the -5, and here you had +5, but the second coordinate was the same. Whereas here, when we look at the point 2, 4, what's different is that it's now at 2, -4. So there's still going to be 4 points above and 4 points below that axis as you are looking at those. What is congruence? Well, a quadrilateral ABCD is reflected over this y-axis, so we're looking at our y-axis. We can write the coordinates of that quadrilateral as A prime, B prime, C prime, and D prime. So when you think about this, when you do your homework tonight, if you're listing point A, it's located at 1, 1. It's now the new image becomes A, 1, 1. So we call it A prime. B was at -3, 1. We are now going to be over at +3, 1. Same with C being at 4, 3, and C prime and D prime. It says two figures are congruent if they have the same size and shape. So as we look at these two, we notice that they are exactly the same size and shape. It says if we were to cut the two out, we could move them around and show that they are exactly the same size. So do they have the same size and shape? Yes, because if we cut them out and moved them around, we could actually see that this is going to work. And then the next question says, is a reflection always going to be congruent to our original figure? And it will always be congruent to the original if it is a reflection. So you're now asked to reflect a whole figure over, in this case, the y-axis. First, for some of you, you might want to identify where is your y. If we are looking, point A is located at -4, 3. So now we want to think, well, where is our A prime? And this is how you're going to do it in your quiz. You're going to write A prime, and you're going to tell me the new point. Well, A prime, if it was back over here at -4, 3, it is now going to be over in this direction, 4 and +3. So we have 4, +3. Whereas B originally was located at -3, 4, our new point B prime is now going to be located at 3 and +4. So it'd be at 3, +4, B prime. Point C is located, if we are looking at that, at -1, 4, and D originally was located at -1, +1. Where is our new C point going to be located? Our new C point is going to be located at 1, 4. Notice all of your x coordinates change to the opposite when you're reflected over the y-axis. The y point doesn't change, the x one does. And if we were looking at this point, we now have our D prime, we had C prime, and notice that the distance between all these points from B to C, that this is 2, and here we have 2. Here we have this length being that diagonal, it kind of comes out as a square root. This distance here, 1, 2, 3. Here we have a distance. If we look at this one is exactly the same. So we can put a mark showing these two are the same, these two are the same length. So it says, are the figures congruent? Yes. Why? When we're looking at this, all the sides are the same length. And the other thing that happens, if we remember from congruence, and all the angles are the same measure. And it says, well, how could we prove this? Well, if we are looking at the angle at C, that's equal to 90 degrees, and the measure of angle C prime is also at 90 degrees, okay? If we are looking at measures of sides, one of the things with the measures of sides is that the measure from B to C equals 2, which is the same distance of B prime to C prime. So remember, same size and shape, that's what we are going to be looking at, is that those two things hold. Now, if you turn to the next page of your notes, we really only have 2 more things to look at. This one we're asked to reflect it over the x-axis. So first thing we have to identify is our x-axis. That's the line that we are reflecting it over. And it says if we reflect it over, we want to do that first. So we're going to look at H is now going to be up here, is going to be our new point H prime. And I do think sometimes it's really helpful to write those out. The G, if we were locating where that was, it was at -4, 4. And if we want to think about where is our new point G prime going to be, G prime has to be, when we reflect it over, it's still going to be at -4, but now it's going to be down 4. So -4, -4, as we are looking at that. The new H, if we are looking at H and H prime, our new H prime, as we are looking at that, should be located at 3, +1. Our old H was at 3, -1. Where is the new F point? Well, the original one was at -1, -2. The new F prime is going to be located at -1, +2. So if we're looking at each one of those points, now I think I'll change the color of that one. We'll go to red so that you can see the points a little better. So here is F prime, G prime, and H prime. So we're going to still make that same triangle. Oh, I can see using this tablet my drawing is not the best. Hopefully you'll be a little more accurate. And the question says, originally, G or F to G to H. So if we started at F, went to G and to H. So we're thinking of going our orientation. Remember we talked about orientation the other day in class. The orientation going from F to G to H is going like this. So we would say that that is clockwise orientation. And it says, how does this orientation change after the reflection? Well, again, we still want to start at F, but this time we're going to start at F prime, then we're going to go to H prime, or excuse me, G prime, and then we're going to go to H prime. So if we're going in that order, from F prime to G prime to H prime, F prime, G, H. Notice this time you're going to be going this way around, which we would say is counterclockwise. So the question is, does the reflection, the orientation change? Yes. What are we referring to for our orientation? The clockwise and counterclockwise. Now, in this last 2 that they want you to practice, and what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you actually try doing this first one, reflecting it over the x-axis, and then in the second one it says you do 2 things. First, it says, the first thing we want to do is reflect it over the y's. That's going to be our points J prime, K prime, L prime. then reflected over the X. So this is going to be our second line of reflection. I'm going to have you pause the video. You will see me doing, when you turn it back on, the first reflection here I'll do, and I'll do this one over the X, then I'll have you pause the video again. What you will notice is that if I draw these two, you can see drawing this with my, you can see I reflected those 2 points over, and then as I draw the line, and I do think it's always much easier for me to draw the line from up above than down here on the front board. But you can see, and a lot of you have tried my tablet to know where this is my problem. So if we are actually going to draw that as a straight line, you can see this is our new one, J prime, K prime, L prime. But now it says we have to do the second one. So if we're going to do the second one, I'm going to do that second one in blue. I need to reflect it now over the x-axis. So where is J prime going to be? It's going to be down 2. It's going to be at this point. We're going to call it J double prime. K is going to be down 1 because we're reflecting it over. It's K double prime. And L goes up here, and it is L double prime. Are they still, if we are looking at these, going from J prime to J double prime to L double prime, all the way down here, and looking at this one? If I had a nice straight edge like you might with your rulers, are these still congruent? They should still be congruent. They have the same angle measure. So what you're going to be doing in a few minutes, I'm going to show you what your homework is. You're going to be asked to plot the points and then reflect over the x-axis. In the next one, again, you're going to plot the points. Remember, when you plot those first points, it is always the x-coordinate tells us to go left and right and then up and down. And then you're going to reflect over the y-axis. Okay? So you're going to be doing your homework. I think the worksheet is pretty self-explanatory. And then what you're going to be doing right now is you're going to take a quiz. What is the quiz on? The sub is going to put this right under the document camera. You're going to do it on half a sheet of paper, like we usually do. If the sub isn't sure where those are, please show them right on that front table, those half sheets. I think we have yellow ones right now. And you're going to put this under the document camera, or you can just pause it in the video.